Today was San Diego Comic-Con and we received a lot of new Outlander information, including this new clip of Claire's parents, Julia and Henry, from Blood of My Blood. And there's a lot in it that we can learn about these two characters who are very much mysteries going into this new prequel show, including a very exciting mention of Claire herself. In this clip, we can see Henry and Julia in the Highlands in a blue car, which I think is obviously a nod to Claire's blue powers, and they are having a conversation while driving through the Highlands together. Julia is pointing out how beautiful the scenery is and that she thinks that Claire would really love it there and that she would enjoy picking some of the wild raspberries that they drive by. Keep in mind that at the time that Claire's parents died in a car crash, Claire was about 5 years old, and so you can tell from this clip that Julia and her are very close, and she's mentioning that when she gets back home, the two of them are going to go picking together. So we know that they were planning on getting back to Claire, and something happened to them. I pointed this out in another video, but this is another look at the car that the two of them are driving in, and we can see from the actual trailer for Blood of My Blood that they do get into a car accident while in the Highlands, and the outfit that Julia has on when she goes through the standing stones is different than the one she has on in this clip, so I think that they drive around in this car at least 2 times. But as they drive through the countryside, Julia continues to tell Henry everything that she plans to do with Claire when they return back home from their trip. All of this scenery and the way that it is shot is very, very much a parallel to the first episode of Outlander when Claire and Frank are driving through the Highlands in their car, heading up to the bed and breakfast that they end up staying at in the Highlands. And I do really love that they are mentioning Claire so strongly in this clip. Obviously, it's a great marketing ploy because there's so much curiosity about how they're going to write about Claire's parents. But for those who read the books, there's really nothing written about them, and Diana does not plan to write anything about them. So all of this is very new and open for the writer's interpretation, which is a weird position for me to be in, not knowing what to expect. This clip, though, and all of the other ones I've seen so far, has really solidified to me that the casting of these two characters has been completely spot on. Hermione, who plays Julia, looks so much like Katrina Balfe when she was younger and playing Claire for the first time in season 1. The way she speaks is very much in line with how Claire's cadence was, and I think Henry is being played in a very subtle but effective way, and you can tell from both of these two characters, even in the small little clips we've received of them, elements of Claire that she received from both of them. I also like how in this small clip we see that Julia is a very intelligent woman. They've mentioned in interviews with cast that she has a lot of interests. She's a painter. She's very interested in science and botany, and all of those things are, nodded at here, even in just this one tiny sentence where she's explaining to Henry how to make wine out of raspberries. And just the way that these two look at each other, you can tell that their love and marriage was a very happy one, and it was two people that deeply respected and loved one another. I mean, this look on Julia's face as she's listening to Henry is everything to me, and again, looks so much like Claire. As the two of them continue to have their conversation, it's this sentence in particular that I feel is extremely significant for what to expect in Outlander season 8, and also how they're teeing that up through Blood of My Blood. And it's Julia telling Henry that the leaves of raspberries have been used for centuries to help women in childbirth. Interestingly, after she tells Henry that, there is a pause, and Henry is looking not quizzical, but he's definitely mulling something over in his head. And Julia asks him, What are you thinking about? And the part that I find interesting is that he is clenching his jaw as he's taking this moment to think. And so I think there's something deeper at play here. I do think that they seem to be navigating in the direction of her being pregnant with their second child at this point, and her bringing up childbirth is a subtle nod to that. And I know that in the end of season 7, they've implied heavily that potentially Julia went back through the stones and had 2 more children in the past that are Claire's siblings. Henry sort of plays it off by saying he didn't say anything, and Julia points out that even though he didn't say anything, his face sort of gave him away. And she asks him, What are you worried about? And again, he deflects here, saying, I really hate it when you do that, which is a classic tactic to change the subject. And again, I want to get to the root of what he's thinking about or realizing in that moment in time. And it's clear from Julia's reaction that she's used to this, or at the very least is going along with it and picking up on the fact that Henry does not want to discuss the childbirthing techniques of raspberry leaves with her. Henry then says that the reason he's being so contemplative is because he's a little bit concerned about Claire, who was left with his brother, Quentin. To which Julia reinforces that Claire is lucky to be spending time with Uncle Lamb, someone who's very interesting and eccentric, and is no doubt bringing her and involving her in a lot of very interesting things, including museums in London. And Henry does ultimately agree, saying that knowing his brother, Claire's probably learning hieroglyphics and trying to translate the Rosetta Stone. And we know from Claire talking about her Uncle Lamb in the main series and in the books that she did learn an awful lot from her Uncle Lamb, who ultimately ended up taking her in after her parents died in a car crash around this time. And now we have the added context of the show that the crash would be taking place in the Scottish Highlands. We don't even get that much information in the books. Another interesting part of this little clip is the music playing in the background. I think if you're looking for it, Outlander, and hopefully this series too, does a very good job of implying a lot with very little. So the music choice here, having it be from their time, and what we know already about the suspected link between Fanny and her sister and Claire and her mother, and that song that Fanny knew at the end of season 7, obviously playing a song from their time and piecing these two characters in that time period with the music that plays in the background of their scenes is going to be something that very subtly ties us back to them as we continue to watch the story unfold. And I do think it will be something that comes up again in season 8, because Claire was very spooked that Fanny knew a song from her childhood and something that presumably her mother and father played in front of her or sang to her at one point or another. So again, all of those subtle ways that the show and the directors make these very significant ties, I think is a brilliant way of kind of indirectly telling us how to think and feel before the big reveal is laid out pretty straightforwardly on screen. So far, I really love what I see about these two characters, and selfishly, I'm really excited to follow their story more closely, just because I know that it's going to surprise me no matter what happens, since it's all brand new. But let me know in the comments what you think about Julia and Henry. The more we see of them leading up to next week, the more excited I get.